Okay, here we are again at Mummy's Nose for the third time. Promise you this time we're going to have about 90% new route documentation. And in addition, we're going to explore a little closer the final approach to the summit. So we're at the Catch Pen Loop Trailhead on Deer Creek Road in the Mount Charleston wilderness outside of Las Vegas. And right across the road, there is a forest road 092A. We're going to take that forest road. It makes a fork in about, I don't know, an eighth of a mile up the road. And that fork leads off, the right fork leads off to the west ridge. There are two ridges here on in this area leading up to Mummy's Nose. There's the west ridge on the right and the east ridge on the left. We're going to take that right fork off of Forest Road 029A or 092A. Got to get that right. We'll take the right fork, end up on the west slope or ridge, and there you can see it on the right side. We'll go up that band of trees right up to this point here, and then continue on. I think we get on the other side of the cliff up there. That you see that ridge, that limestone ridge. I think we'll be on the other side. We'll pass through right at this point where you see the little V shape. And then on the other side of the larger cliff, we'll find a route toward the summit. And not being a rock climber, I can't promise I'm going to make it all the way to the summit, but this will give another experience of this beautiful alpine area that we've been in before. And once we get to the highest point we're going to get, it'd be nice if it was the summit, but if it's not, it's still beautiful, beautiful up there. Then we're going to head down, and we're going to head down the east slope or east ridge, which is over here. This is the base of the east ridge, and we're going to go all the way down the east ridge, which we have not done before. Now, in addition, maybe at the near the I don't know, the left base of the Mummy's Nose cliff that you see right ahead, near the left base, we want to look for a route where we can traverse over toward Mummy's forehead. So that's our next goal after we've thoroughly explored and documented the Mummy's Nose area, is that behind Mummy's Nose and hopefully a route on the left side of that cliff is the forehead. So we'll check that out too. You can see the map on the linked page on LasVegasAreaTrails.com where we've got a map that shows all of these routes that we've taken as we've explored this beautiful alpine area. Okay, onward. Okay, we begin by crossing Deer Creek Road. The reason I'm documenting this little stretch is that there is a confusion of trailheads just beyond this little stretch of road here that you see. And I just want to guide you to the way that we're going. So you get into this opening, and wow, the question is, where do you go? You can go to the left. There's another one in the middle, another one, little middle in this direction, another one to the right. Let me explain where these lead. This one on the right leads to a road that'll take you around the base of the Western Ridge up there. And we did that just recently, where we took that road around the base to the other side of the Western Ridge and then continued on the road and then eventually ascended the Western Ridge from the other side. And it's a little bit roundabout, but also it's on a road. A lot of it's on a road. And so you save some of your time just by not having to trudge through the wilderness. Okay, this one here leads to a campsite. So that's not going to help you. This one over here, as far as I can see, leads nowhere. It peters out. So what we're going to do today is this one here leads to road 092, and that road continues on for some time. So that's a good way to go. That's the way we're going to go until it has a fork. And we're going to take the right fork toward the ridge on the right, which is the Western Ridge. We'll ascend the Western Ridge from this side and end up just at the base of Mummy's nose. And here's the thing. I think that today, after having studied this area so much, I think that this is going to be the most streamlined approach to the final summit approach to Mummy's Nose. So let's just see what happens. Here we go. Okay, we haven't gone very far, but here's the fork in the road. And the left fork leads to road 092A. And that leads up toward the eastern ridge on our left over here in this direction. Okay, back to the fork. The right fork is Forest Road 092. And that leads up toward the Western Ridge, which is up in that direction. So for the first time today, we're taking the right fork, and let's just see. It's going to end in a bit, and then hopefully we'll find a little trail, or at least we'll see a clear route up to the Western Ridgeline. Okay, not too far from that last fork, here is yet another fork. And from what I can see on the map, and I'll draw this out on the linked page on LasVegasAreaTrails.com, from what I can see, if you want to ascend, get up to the Western Ridge sooner, take this right fork. If you want to travel a little more in the large canyon gully that we're in and ascend to the summit of the Western Ridge a little later, take the left fork. We're going to take the left fork because we haven't been in this area. So let's just see where it all goes and how it connects. Okay, here's one of a few camping sites that I've seen along Road 092 as we continue up toward the Western Ridge, which you can see ahead. But yeah, if you got a good four-wheel drive vehicle, yeah, there's the Western Ridge on the horizon. We'll see where we summit that. But if you got a good four-wheel drive vehicle, you could drive up to this point and camp, or you could just walk up to this point. It's not too far from the Catch Pen Loop Trailhead where we parked today. But as you can see, this road's very nice, and it's branching off toward the Western Ridge. And if my calculations are correct, this will be the ultimate, most streamlined route to the final summit approach for Mummy's Nose, no matter where you come from. If you're coming from Lee Canyon, if you're coming from Deer Creek Road, this is the most streamlined approach. Give you more time to spend working out the final summit approach to Mummy's Nose. This is one beautiful area. You can see the ponderosa pines ahead, and then there's mountain mahogany on either side of us. It's just simply beautiful. It sparkles. And if you're starting out in the morning, the sun's behind you, so everything in front of you is lit up beautifully. This is probably one of the lightest, most beautiful approaches, in addition to being the most streamlined. Just wanted to point that out and give you an idea just what you're experiencing here. You could actually, no matter how far you go on this approach, if you went 1 mile, if you went 3 miles or more and headed all the way up to Mummy's Nose, I just got to say that this, no matter how long you spend on this trail approach, it's totally worth it. Okay, at this point, the road gets a little bit confusing. There are a number of forks, and so the question is, do you go to the right or the left? And here's where you need to really be looking at the large features of the area. And the large features are, you've got the western ridge on your right, you've got a middle ridge, and then far to the left, I think the middle ridge has hidden it. There is the eastern ridge on the left. And if you head up the mid ridge, yeah, it gets a little brutal up there. It's a way to go. Yeah, you could do it, but I'm going to go to the right and angle upward toward the summit of the western ridge. There are a few ridgelets that we avoided on the right that are kind of intervening ridgelets to the western ridge. By going, by angling the way we have, we're bypassing these little ridgelets, which could be a matter of sending you up and down and a little out of the way. Now we're going to be winding upward toward the western ridge, which is on the horizon here. And it looks like there's a little gully ahead. But notice how I'm no longer depending totally on this road, which is, it's been pretty good up to now, but it is actually becoming a little bit confusing. And that's where you need to begin looking at the large features. And another feature to be watching for is up in this direction. Yeah, there's Mummy's Nose through the trees. So you want to land on the right side of Mummy's Nose. So yeah, I think I might actually continue up this direction and keep angling toward the right where I can. I think this is turning into, it's changing from a road to unmarked trails at this point. So take your best guess, but angle over to the right because you want to um, land on the western ridge as close to the Mummy's Nose cliffs as possible, but kind of avoid this center area, which becomes very steep when you get near the Mummy's Nose cliffs. Okay, I didn't get very far. I was heading up the left side of the gully, and the terrain just didn't look right. It didn't feel right. So I'm heading up the gully and or the right side of the gully where the terrain looks a little more open. So let's try that. And again, our goal is to summit the Western Ridge soon. And by the way, looks like this was a good choice because guess what? We're on the continuation of Forest Road 092A. Very old forest road, overgrown, but still you can see that it was a road at one time. And by the way, these forest roads, it says a forest road, but they're all blocked off at the beginning, so you're on foot once you cross Deer Creek Road from the Catch Pen Loop Trailhead. Um, all these roads are blocked to vehicle traffic. Just came out into the opening. Yes, we're continuing on Forest Road 092. And yeah, look at this. There's a good view of the Mummy's Nose Cliffs, which are our destination. And there's the Western Ridge branching down to the right. And again, we're heading to that Western Ridge. And I think that this forest road is going to get us closest and most gradually up to that ridge. And that's what we want to do. We want to summit the ridge the most direct, easy way, and then take a left on the ridge, head up toward the cliffs. Okay, eventually you're going to need to summit the Western Ridge. Now, I could have stayed in that gully below. Maybe that would have been a better decision. I don't know. But if this leads up, you just get your altitude out of the way very quickly. So let's continue up this side of what looks like a main gully below, which could also have been a good choice. We'll see which might have been better. But yeah, look at now in sharper definition is Mummy's Nose. You can see a cliff high point on the right and the main summit high point cliff on the left, and a saddle between. That saddle between is the area we want to pass through on the way to Mummy's Nose, pass through that saddle, and then take a left. So that's part of the big picture. And as we look around, yeah, Western Ridge up on the horizon here. Hopefully it's not too difficult by the route that I chose, not being in the gully below. But there you can see now in clearer definition the Eastern Ridge, which we will be descending eventually on the return trip. So yeah, and then looking around, oh, what else do we see? Here is Angel Peak. We'll be seeing a lot more of Angel Peak. Air Force radar installation. And now looking down in this direction, we're looking at that pointy mountain is Gas Peak, which towers over northern Las Vegas. And when you're standing on that peak, it's actually a better view than you'd get from an airplane. So, yeah, and you can find out on Las Vegas area trails a few different approaches to get to Gas Peak. Okay, anyway, yeah, and Pine trees continue to be beautiful, beautiful. We're going to be hitting the bristlecone pine area soon. In fact, there is probably the first bristlecone pine. The rest of these are ponderosa pines that you see around you. And we're probably at around 8,700 feet at this point. The summit of Mummy's Nose is 10,700, so that's 2,000 feet above where we are right now. Okay, remember I was debating whether I should have stayed in the gully below to the left or taken this slope on the right side of that gully, and you can see how things are laid out here. There's that gully below that leads up to a higher point on the ridge, and the gully looks actually a little more gradual, but my argument for going high is that the ridge line, I mean the higher area, is more open, as you can see. A lot of open area around here, so you can choose your best route. And also, um, you can see where you are. Like I've got a good view of the Mummy's Nose cliffs. Now, if I were in the gully below, maybe it would be more gradual and lead to a higher point on the ridge line. Maybe not. We don't know, and that's the point. When you're in the gully, you can't really see where it's leading. And in addition, there's a lot more vegetation down there to wind around and um, slow you down. So, yeah, my choice is get the ascent out of the way, get up to the summit of that gully, I mean, the summit of the western ridge, and then take a left, head over to Mummy's Nose. Okay, there's our target, continuing on upward toward the summit of the western ridge. And as often happens when you're on a logical route looking at the large features around you, often you'll come across a little trail, because you will not be the first person to choose that logical route. Um, there are either animals or people who have been before you and made little used trails. And here's one leading up, probably make the rest of the ascent a lot easier than it has been below us. As you can see, wow, it's been very steep, but often as you approach a high point, you're either going to be hit by a head wall or things will level off a bit. I always like it when they level off. Okay, it turns out it's my favorite. Instead of a head wall, things are um, leveling off a little bit, incline decreasing as we round up toward the um, summit of this ridge, western ridge. And there you can see the twin peaks of Mummy's Nose. And you know our route leads right through the center opening there, and continue to receive more and more beautiful views as we look around. Nothing real firm to stand on here. But yeah, let's keep angling over to the western ridgeline, and then we'll take a left there and continue on up toward Mummy's Nose. Okay, I've continued to angle up toward the summit of the western ridge, and very often a good rule is to avoid traversing and just get the ridge over with, and then it's much easier going. I've chosen today to traverse just to experience a different area, and I'm going to continue traversing even though, yeah, the summit of the ridge is right up here with its awesome view of the um, Lee Canyon and across from Lee Canyon. And you see now we are in the Bristlecone Pine territory. We're about at 91, 9,200 feet. We missed this little hill, rocky area by traversing the way we did. We've actually traversed this ridge up in this direction. Yeah, it's slower to traverse than just to get to the top of a ridge and then be along the summit of that ridge. But like I said, we're trying something different today. Um, Looking down here, great view of the Sheep Range. So beautiful. And that will be our reference point on the return trip. Our reference on the trip toward Mummy's Nose is, of course, Mummy's Nose, which is visible most of the way. I'm going to continue traversing this ridge. And over in this direction, yeah, the La Madre Mountains. And you see what looks like a snowfield on the left? I call it the permanent snowfield. Actually, it has a name, Devil's Slide, heading up to that high point, which is La Madre Mountain, 8,500 feet approximately. Okay, let's continue traversing, and I think we're going to come across a trail soon. In fact, this traverse now is a trail of sorts. You can't really see a defined trail, but yeah, it's a fairly level pathway. Okay, now we're on a little trail just below the ridgeline summit, which is right here. And I'm going to stay on this little trail. We traversed that ridgeline summit just above and looked over Lee Canyon during the Mummy's Nose North Alpine Loop circuit. So this time, let's just stay on this trail and not hit the ridgeline summit so soon. And just to give you an idea where we are, you can see the slope is definitely increasing. We are more in the bristlecone pine territory, but there are other pines. So it's not totally bristlecone yet. Okay, we've topped the western ridge line, and you see it stretching out below us, and also the northern valley leading up toward Reno. And there you see the Sheep Range, and looking straight down, you're looking into the canyon between the western ridge on the left and the eastern ridge on the right, over toward Angel Peak. And now looking upward toward Mummy's Nose, and you can see the two summits there. And we round this lower cliff between the summits. We round the left side of that lower cliff and then head up to that saddle between the summits. And then over in this direction, South Sister, North Sister. In between in the distance is McFarland Peak. Get a closer look. Reach South Sister from the Old Mill Trailhead on Lee Canyon Road. And we have on Las Vegas Area Trail summiting the South Sister and the North Sister, and also the saddle between. Quite an interesting circuit. A lot of fun. And then we also have summiting McFarland Peak. So you can look all those up, do a search on Las Vegas Area Trails. And there's Bonanza Peak. We have a summit there from Cold Creek on the northern end and from Lee Canyon Road, long marathon trip, over 26 miles from Lee Canyon Road. And then over here in the foreground is Black Rock Sister, which is, as the name says, just a black rock. It's a volcanic rock. And then behind it is Max Peak. And then back to the ridgeline, western ridgeline in the valley below, and to give a bigger view of those mountains we just identified. Okay, here on my third time trying different routes up toward Mummy's Nose, I've come to the conclusion that whichever route you take, the eastern ridge or the western ridge, you're going to end up, you want to end up in this band of trees you can see from below that leads between the two summits of Mummy's Nose, and you're just going to have to head up this super steep slope. There is no way around it. So yeah, here we go. We'll just keep on moving upward, and we're at about 9,700 feet, which is 1,000 feet below the summit of Mummy's Nose. And I would say we're probably less than a mile, more toward a half mile from the summit of Mummy's Nose. But wow, what a half mile it is. Straight up. And you can see by the angle of the trees here that, yes, we're definitely ascending a very, very steep slope. The surface is fairly nice though. I stay in the center of this slope because it's got a really nice pine needle surface, few rocks interspersed, and that's compared to if you were up on the ridge line above there, you might be experiencing a lot of loose limestone. This to me is an easier ascent. So I'm just gonna stay to the center of this tree line and see, how far up I get. And for the return trip, yeah, it's a steep descent down the tree line, and then it's going to be take a right, circle around the ledge, the rocky ledge here. You can't see the rocks. You could see it if you were a little below it. Circle around the right and then hit that eastern ridge line all the way back down. So, um, yeah, let's just go ahead and keep on moving upward. It's slow going, but every step gets us closer. 1,000 steps left. I need an excuse to pause while ascending this monster slope. And yeah, let's just take a moment to appreciate these ancient bristlecone pines that surround us. They're in the area of 1,000 years old. There's some in this area that are 3,000. But just imagine this forest has been quietly standing in this place throughout the days of our lives, during everything we do. Yep, they're standing here, growing. They were here, some of them, 1,000 years ago. That is around 40 years before the Norman invasion of England, 1066. They were around 500 years old when Columbus landed on the American continent. They've been here all this time on this slope, silently growing. Pretty amazing. They were already over 700 years old when this country, United States, was founded. You just heard a jet overhead. We were traveling by horse and buggy. That was the best mode of transportation when these were young trees. Now we've landed on the moon. And they've been here all that time, silently growing. And hopefully, if we care for the earth, they'll be here in 3,000 years. If we can survive that long as a human race, imagine where we will be when these trees are still alive. And here from this height, let's zoom in on the desert overlook parking area on Deer Creek Road. There you have it. Okay, here we are about 600 vertical feet below the 10,700-foot summit of Mummy's Nose. And it looks like I've got a choice here. I can head up in this direction, or I can head up in this direction with the thought that maybe there is a traverse on the other side of this cliff area. We don't know. I'm going to head up this direction because I think that both sides should meet somewhere up there eventually. So let's just go ahead and do that and proceed along this final summit approach. Now, I don't know if I'm actually on the final summit approach because I don't see any cairns anywhere, and I did leave the ridge a ways back. So it could be up over in that direction and around the backside of this ledge, but we just don't know. So in the absence of cairns, I'm going to go ahead and head up this direction and see if we can find some cairns and find ourselves on the final summit approach. Okay, I backtracked a little from below. I went back down a little ways and just had a hunch that maybe this would be the place to be. And sure enough, it looks like people have been using this route. So yeah, let's head up this way and just see where it leads. We are, by the way, I don't know, about 500-600 feet below the summit, which you see to your left behind the trees. Wow, it's leveled off a little bit. There you see the lower summit. We're on the saddle winding our way upward. Let's take a look at the upper summit. There it is. We're 500 feet below, 500 vertical feet, 400 to 500 below the summit of Mummy's Nose. But wow, getting here has been quite the experience of trying to keep one's footing on some very steep, loose rock. So yeah, if you slip, it's not like you're going to fall as far as you can see, which would be a career-ending move, but yeah, it's the cheese grater there, and you're going to slide a little bit on these limestone rocks until you slide to a halt. Maybe you'll go over a little ledge on the way. It's nothing life-threatening, but yeah, you could break something. So this is a nice little area where it's leveled off a bit, which is why I can do a video as we look toward the true summit. Don't know how far we're going to get. Depends on what's around the corner up there. And by the way, opening up even more spectacular views, there's the sheep range. And we're looking way down on Angel Peak. And then here is the desert overlook viewpoint down on Deer Creek Road. Just to get some perspective here. And yeah, I could almost see where the beast is parked. Let's look down here and see if we can nail it. And if you additional reference points. There is Camp Stimpson area. That's their parking area off Deer Creek Road. Another look at Angel Peak. And that complex below Angel Peak is the Spring Mountains Youth Camp. And if you see the SMYC trail in Red Rock Canyon, that's the Spring Mountain Youth Camp creation of that trail. And then over here is northern Las Vegas. And let's see if I can nail the Clark County gun range. Looks like a little triangle. Yeah, right down in that area. Too much glare on the screen here. But I'm thinking I caught it right at the base of the, there we are. Yeah, Clark County gun range. And then above it is Gas Peak. Those flashes you're seeing are birds flying around up here. But there you have it. Some really cool views, reference points. Well, look where we are. I just came up the rock ledge to the right of this pinnacle straight ahead. Wow, that was touch and go. And we are, I don't know, 400 feet below the summit. There's the summit. Wow, look at this bristlecone. How in the world do they grow where they grow? And another one down here. So the next stretch would be around the corner here. And we see where that leads. Doesn't look too horrible. So we can go a little further. But yeah, when I hit a point that I just don't feel right, I will turn around. There is Lee Canyon. There's that large parking area where you park when you're coming up to Mummy's Nose from Lee Canyon. And then, of course, here are some other mountains. On the left, McFarland Peak. To the right of that is Bonanza Peak. And then in the foreground, the Sisters. South on the left, north in the middle, and Black Rock on the right. And then here's Max Peak. And again, Las Vegas Valley, in the valley north of Las Vegas. And you can see Lee Canyon Road all the way down to Highway 95. Sheep Range, Angel Peak. Okay, let's continue around the corner till we at least reach an area that, oh yeah, by the way, yeah, I do think I can see the beast. Yeah, the beast is parked down there, that little parking area across Deer Creek Road. Pretty cool. Now in this stretch, passing between the awesome bristlecone here and the cliff wall, and give you a look at our surroundings. Oh my gosh. Yeah, we are definitely up here. Okay, here's an idea what things look like from where we are here. You definitely don't want to be sliding down that ledge or that slope. I think the thing is to continue on up here, and we are not too far under the summit. We'll see, no promises. There's a lot of exposure up here. Time to check in again. We're not too far from the summit of Mummy's Nose, and is it possible that this is the final leveling off before the summit? That would be really nice. Looking around, and we just came up this. My hand's shaking. Yeah. Here's the first cairn I've seen in a long time. Ooh, there's another one over there. Oh my gosh. I'm not going over there on the way down. So you can keep your cairn over there. But it looks like, yeah, turned into a little trail just below the summit, hopefully. So let's continue on. The incline's still fairly unrelenting. It has leveled off a bit. You just want to take your time, watch every foot placement, because you just don't want to lose control on this loose rock. And the larger rock has better hold. The small rock is more slick. So yeah, here we are, winding our way around toward the summit. And here we are, against all odds, if you knew me, you'd agree, on the summit of Mummy's Nose from Deer Creek Road. And yeah, let's take a quick look down to our starting point at the Catch Pen Loop Trailhead. And maybe you can see the beast down there. Long ways to go. There were what I considered a few, well, quite a few frightening exposures on the way up. So yeah, I've got to face all those on the way down, but well, at least I'm up here. Looking to the mountains, the mountain peaks across Lee Canyon. And by the way, yeah, we looked at Bonanza Peak, and I believe that the next one over is Wheeler Peak. I don't know. Mummy's forehead may need to wait. Wait until I've recovered from this experience. Yeah, speaking of the forehead, yeah, there's the forehead. Yeah, maybe that's the forehead, and that's Mummy's chin. And then there's Mummy's tummy. That's the true summit, 11,520 feet about. Mummy's knees, Mummy's toe, Griffith Peak, Fletcher Peak, La Madre Mountains. There you can see the Devil's Slide. Deer Creek Road below. Angel Peak and the SMYC youth camp, which is actually a correctional facility. Northern Las Vegas. And then, yeah, Gas Peak should be right in this area. It's the pointy peak. I'm having trouble identifying it because of all the glare. But yeah, I think that's it. And then beneath it is the Clark County Gun Range, which is triangular shaped. Sheep Range, Lee Canyon Road below. And looking north up toward Reno. And then, yeah, here are the sisters. South on the left, north to the right, and then Black Rock further to the right. Bonanza Peak, McFarland Peak. So we'll just do a silent circuit here and see how many of these reference points you can remember. Amazing, spectacular 360-degree view from this prominent high point, Mummy's Nose. And by the way, looking down, there is the Western Ridge. What we want to do is head down to that Bristlecone slope. Looking forward to being down there because then no more exposure. And then head down the Eastern Ridge, which is right there, to make a big circuit. Okay, let's head back. Okay, as you can see, we're in the Bristlecone Pine Band now. We've made a lot of descent. We're at about 95, 96, 100 feet. So we've descended about 1,000 feet to 1,100 feet. And what I want to try to find here is the descent on the Eastern Ridge. Last time I tried to descend on the Eastern Ridge, I actually descended on the center ridge. So this time we're going to try to hit that Eastern Ridge and go all the way down the Eastern Ridge to make a huge circuit. And there you see the Sheep Range as a reference point in the distance there. But I want to head toward, well, a little off the Sheep Range, a little more toward Angel Peak, just to make sure we hit that Eastern Ridge rather than the Central Ridge. So, and by the way, the descent in the upper area, around the ledges and the exposed area, was a lot easier than the ascent to Mummy's Nose. So it's kind of interesting. It supports my theory that anything class 3 or less is easier to descend than to ascend. Okay, let's see if we can hit that Eastern Ridge. Well, I think I'm on the Eastern Ridge. If you look at the linked map on Las Vegas Area Trails, you can see that there is a large gully, I guess, down toward the Camp Stimson parking area. We want to stay above that. And so what I'm doing is staying as close to the edge of this ridge, as close to the right edge of this ridge as possible, so as to be on the Eastern Ridge rather than the middle ridge. But no promises. I don't know if that's going to work. And we are now, yeah, we're getting below the Bristlecone Pine area, getting more into ponderosas. Up above are some bristlecones. There's one. And by the way, in the background is the summit of Mummy's Nose. So we've descended a lot. So yeah, let's see if we can stay on the right side, right edge of this ridge. And hopefully we'll be on the Eastern Ridge rather than the Central Ridge. We'll see. Well, I think I missed the Eastern Ridge again. I think that is the Eastern Ridge line. Not totally sure, but I believe I'm on the Central Ridge again. I guess in order to get to the Eastern Ridge, you really need to hug the upper cliffs and the base of the upper cliffs and then find your way down that ridge line But yeah, here we are, I think on the central ridge, and we'll just keep descending till we get to the gully and find Forest Road 092A. Okay, I've landed at the base of the eastern ridge, which you see directly in front, and this is the pathway or the gully that leads to Upper Road 092A, and then it's just a matter of skirting the base of the eastern ridge to return. So I missed the eastern ridge, but still I made Mummy's Nose Summit. So can't get everything, but this was a great day. So here we are at the base of Forest Road 029A or 092A. And yeah, in this clearing just a moment ago, I saw some kind of wild canine animal walking through the clearing, and by the time I got my camera out, he was gone. They tend to watch for when your eyes are not looking straight at them, and that's when the animals move. If you're staring at them, they won't move, but if your eyes are moved away, like I was looking at my phone trying to get that started, I looked up and sure enough, he was gone. So anyway, here's the beast, and it's been an awesome day up the central area, a little bit toward the right and the western ridge. Then we hit the western ridge, and we had ascended from here Forest Road 092, which branches off to the right. I'll add it to the map. But anyway, yeah, we got up to the ridge that you see to the right of Mummy's Nose, and then took that ridge up to the band of trees. You can't see it too well now. You saw it earlier this morning when it was in the sunlight. Went up through the band of trees between the two high points up there, took a left, and then circled around the back side or the south side of Mummy's Nose and made the summit today. So now we've made Mummy's Nose from Lee Canyon Road, and then a number of different routes from Deer Creek Road. So by now, I'm familiar with the entire area over here. And it is truly beautiful. And this is the most direct and least steep, believe it or not, route up to Mummy's Nose Summit. So Deer Creek Road and the Catch Pen Loop Trailhead is a great place to park and then cross to this side of the road and head up to Mummy's Nose. That's my preferred route now.